Hello, now I want to share with you from the book the chapter pertaining the story of Leila and her lives. I want to share it with you so those of you who are busy commuting from one place to another, traveling, or you simply don't have time to read the book, but yes, to listen to the audio. Now I will share with you part two of the book, Leila and her lives. So, what is to be understood from this title? What are we to take from this story? This story follows the meaning, give your subconscious more room. Many people, religion, and cultures have put reincarnation to a side. Nonetheless, this story can give courage to the soul in a regression to allow it to speak. To listen to it, become curious. Be prepared to go on a journey to discover. Leila is an African girl. She has dark skin and a slender body. She has a lively appearance that will later turn into a beautiful and learned young lady. But let us go to the beginning. Her father is a diplomat, ambassador of his country of origin. His missions are mostly time limited. His family is always with him. In his family there are Leila's mother, his wife, Leila, and her two older brothers, as well as a home teacher. The brothers are very athletic, and they represent their country in world competitions in Greece. In effect, the parents and Leila amongst the audience see the boys participate. As the starting shot goes and the competition finally begins, Leila begins to travel back to another time. Her spiritual eye opens and she is in old Greece. In a stadium, she is participating in a competition, naked, strong, young, and male runner. Leila is shocked and thinks to herself quietly and almost afraid, what was that? Her father was consul in Egypt for a long time. Leila and her mother were often in Cairo, doing errands, seeing friends, and shopping. One day she discovered the bust of Nefertiti in a showcase, a new addition for the tourists as a souvenir. For Leila, this experience was far more than that. When she was seeing the bust, she felt a new craving as well as love. But why did this bust impress Leila so much? Her spiritual eye opens up again and she looks in a great room between pillars. It is a palace. She immediately knows that this is Nefertiti and she is her daughter. She feels the great love towards her mother and feels the joy of a reunion. But she also feels a great feeling of craving in the heart. Then as well as nowadays. But why? She does not know. Leila has a great desire to go to Italy, to explore about the land and the people, the culture and its history. After Milano, then to Florence and finally to Rome and also to the southern regions. Her tourist guide tells her a lot. In a given moment, they arrive in Pompeii. Leila becomes very nervous and her spiritual eye opens once again. She sees herself in an elegant furnished home. She is herself a small girl. Everyone is excited. They're all speaking very loud. They deliberate. They discuss. There's a problem that makes everyone afraid. She knows it. Her father today was her father then as well. He seems to have a saying in the town. His garments seem to prove it. Students stand around him. All of a sudden, everything becomes foggy and sticky in the room. From outside, the voices of people screaming are heard. Panic is everywhere. Shortly thereafter, everything was off. We no longer exist. Leila breathes heavily and deep. She cannot breathe any longer. Only slowly does she return to here and now. What was that? She thought to herself. It turns out that her father is posted in Spain. Leila thinks positively of the change. Madrid is a beautiful city. It has culture, university, new people, beach, and ocean. It all sounds very promising. On one of the usual banquets at the embassy, a Spanish finance manager appears. As Leila saw him, she felt a terrifying fear, and her spiritual eye was completely open. She finds herself in a jail again. It is dark. It stings horribly. She is now in the 15th century. She is living the Spanish Inquisition. This is so-called manager stands in a uniform in front of her, as then, now today, he had this horrible grin on his face. The expression from his eyes makes one shiver. Then as now, and now as then, Leila has a strong sense of fear. She hears screams of pain from her then father, as well as those of a younger sister. A uniformed sadist enjoys his power. A torturer, the manager, looks at Leila and thinks, yes, what you hear there is your family. You will be next. I will teach you Jews to be afraid. You heretics. Leila is in shock but also disgusted. She therefore understands why she does not like Spanish as a language. Disgusted from this memory, Leila decides to move to Paris. For whatever reason, Leila likes the people, the land, the food. She feels at home here. The professors at the university seem to be very competent. Together with her mother, she visits the catwalks. She encounters good friends, food. Again, if only this place of the Bastille would not exist. There she always gets a strong discomfort. Yes, everybody knows that is where the jail stood. Why should this impress Leila more than the average person? Again, her spiritual eye opens and Leila sees herself. She's a Jacobin and she wears a famous red hat. Louis XVI has already been beheaded. As a trustworthy Republican, she should watch the Queen, that is, the former Queen Marie Antoinette. Rescue or pardon is not expected, and so she, Marie Antoinette, awaited for a long time in her dirty, dark and smelly cell. Supposedly, when Marie Antoinette was caught in a tower, she was sitting before a wooden table and was reading the Bible. Behind her was an oval window. Marie Antoinette seemed, for the most part, calm. She did not seem afraid. Did she find peace with God? It is highly probable. Leila seems somehow found an appeal for this lady, Marie Antoinette. Leila feels mourning for the too many victims that perished. Sometime the fight for justice turned into futile butchery. When Leila gets these feelings nowadays, she knows why she dislikes this particular spot. Once again, her father stands before a change in destination. This time, it's Denmark. It is summer, it is midterm holidays. Why not go and visit her parents? The trip was long but beautiful. Either highway or romantic country roads, it was an experience. Eventually, Leila arrives at Schleswig-Holstein and crosses the border to Denmark. Somehow, Leila thinks everything seems very familiar. It's nature, the fields, the corn, the sky, the trees. Funny, she continues to think, all this also exists someplace else. Why do I get this feeling of luck precisely here? She continues to think. And so her spiritual eye opens again. She sees herself as a Danish farm girl. Leila was an African dark-skinned, skinny young lady. And as a farm girl, she was big, chunky, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Viking woman. Leila had been this Danish lady many lives before. She sees herself working in the fields. She sees herself on the farm with the animals, a big barn. Together with her husband, they have many children. Some play on the yard. Leila can see it all. Suddenly, the eldest son left the family quietly and calmly. As a mother, she stayed behind with the big concern of a mother what she carried with her to her grave. Leila had once again a regression memory. She can slowly understand this process, what always happened to her, over again with the question. Otherwise, she finds it interesting. It does not make her afraid any longer. Rather, it awakens her curiosity. And yes, graduation, she got her diploma. Finally, a small recovery period would be optimal. In Paris, it is cold and humid, and so Leila arrives in Tenerife, Spain, the islands of the eternal spring. Let's see, Leila thinks. Tenerife has the most diverse landscapes. Suddenly, Leila has a cold and she must go to a doctor. It is a female doctor. The doctor seems very masculine, even with the long hair and the female clothing. Again, her spiritual eye opens up and Leila knows immediately that it is the soul of Joachim. The doctor too seems to have recognized Leila and looks at her very deeply, as if both souls are happy to meet each other again and are happy with this encounter. Leila recovers quickly and wishes to continue having some holidays on the beach. She has done some tours on the island, and with that she has gotten to meet some locals. For example, another prison guard from the days of Marie Antoinette in Paris. This person had a hair parlor in Puerto La Cruz. In addition, Leila knows that 2 fathers, 4 children, and a loving and helping brother of past lives are living in Tenerife, all year round or partially. All this was manifested through her open spiritual eye. All of a sudden, everything is clear. Why Leila had to go to Tenerife. In reality, she wanted to go to the Gran Canary in Spain. Those wonderful wide and sunny beaches. Immersed in these beautiful thoughts, Leila suddenly hears some loud voices. A sudden bothering. A group of Germans are laying on a long chair near her. Oh no, German, she thinks to herself, and she suddenly sees a lot of naked feet around her. Panic! 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 She is overwhelmed by panic, and again her spiritual eye opens up. Leila knows immediately that she is under dead bodies on a pile of bodies between the gas chamber and the burning oven. Leila is still alive. She fears to be burnt alive. She thinks that God will not help her. He has abandoned us all. After all the suffering in the concentration camp, all trust in God has been swept away. The naked feet, the horrible smell, and the noise of the mean German voices, all this stays as the impression of pain, suffering, and fear, for injustice and violence. The subconscious has unfiltered everything and has saved everything to recollectible. A psychologist considered that maybe a phobia. Caress your feet and say that you love your feet. In reality, it was not very sound advice. Back to the pile of dead bodies, Leila suddenly hears the soft voices that say, "Leave this body, you are free. Leave it. Go out." Leila had died. She cannot believe it. Hesitant, she slowly follows the voices. Her soul is free at last. Every being should be able to decide upon itself when its rebirthing cycle ends. Decisive is how we behave and how we think. Unfortunately, many people have been influenced from the wrong ambition, vanity, and envy. They hurt not only themselves, but they also hurt the lives of many other people. Reincarnation is not a punishment. Rather, it is a chance given by God. Thank you.